says Amber and her friends cheated on a poker hand.
Now, this is case number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Hunting versus Rodriguez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Hunting, according to what I read, there was a poker game that was going on in your home?
Correct.
And the defendant was one of the participants in the game. There was some sort of a disagreement as to who had the winning hand. Defendant lost, and you claimed that in a tiff, when he left, he damaged your car. He says he didn't do it. How do you know him?
He is just a friend of a friend, and he was invited to my house by our mutual friend.
Do you have a regular poker game that goes on in your house?
No, it was just for fun.
How many people were there?
6.
Men or women?
There were 2 women and 4 men.
How many of the men did you know?
3 of them.
He was the only one you didn't know?
Correct.
What about the other woman?
She's my witness, Tristan.
So tell me what happened.
Well, it was August 27th, 2004, and we just had a gathering at my house of friends, and he came with our friend Robert, and I had no reservations about it. I was okay with that. And I think he had been drinking before he came over, but I still wasn't really concerned. He decided to participate a couple hours with no problems. We were all just hanging out having fun, no problems at all. And then when he had thought he won a hand and there was some questions about it, he kind of got defensive and aggressive when we tried to tell him otherwise. And he got angry at us, and he started calling names and pushing people and getting up and getting violent.
So what happened next?
Well, we tried to break it up. He tried to fight my boyfriend. He was calling names. He picked up a bike and actually threw it across the deck and bruised my friend's arm. I have a picture.
Did you do that?
No, ma'am.
Why would she make up such a story?
I don't know. I can't
Did
really
you lose a hand in
speculate.
poker?
No, ma'am. I still remember the hand.
Well, was there some sort of a dispute as to whether you won?
Yes, ma'am.
So you won the game,
Yes, ma'am.
and then they told you you lost the game and couldn't take the money.
Actually, her boyfriend had agreed that I won, and then she jumped in the middle, tried to read his card, said, "No, you won, look at your hand." He looked, and then he agreed, tried to take the money. But he already called the wrong hand. He called a hand lower than mine. I started taking the money down. He kept trying to argue with me. She kept jumping in the middle. I admit I did call her, but it wasn't really directed towards her. It was like, I don't want to hear what any have to say. No one else is in the game.
The women weren't playing?
No, they already lost.
Sorry.
They already lost all
So
their
the
money.
been playing,
Yes, ma'am.
and you did play with the women.
Yes, ma'am.
So it wasn't as if you don't want to play with women, that it was
Oh,
just a
no.
man's game.
No, we were all playing. They lost. There were 3 of us left.
And nothing happened with the bicycle.
No, there was a bike in the way, but I was getting pulled out of their house, and I bumped into a bike. I never picked a bike up, threw it, or anything like that.
Okay, then according to you, Miss Hunting, Mr. Rodriguez damaged your car when he left. How did he
Definitely.
damage your car?
He damaged 2 vehicles. He was inside, and it took a good 15 minutes to get him calmed down. We were trying to calm him down. He wouldn't calm down, so he was physically removed from my house
How was he physically removed?
by our friend Robert.
Is that right?
Yeah, he escorted me out of the house.
He pulled you out?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't want to leave?
No, her boyfriend had tried to start a fight with me, so I stood up. We were in a fight, and he didn't want to fight, and then her mom came in, said we're going to call the police. Told her to call the police, you know. They're trying to rob me of my money.
So you still felt as if you were owed that money
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
pot. So you didn't want to leave without your money.
No, ma'am.
So you were pulled out by Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you were pulled out, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, he pulled me out, but right before the door closed, I said, look, you know, I'll leave. They went and got my money. He gave it to me. He walked to his car and got in and left.
Who walked to the car?
Me and Robert.
Robert was the one who had brought you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still a friend of yours?
Yeah.
You see him?
Yeah. He lives on the same street, so, yeah, we see
Good.
each other.
And you claim that he damaged cars when he left. You have any witness? Did you see him do that?
I actually have Robert here as a witness.
Really? Bring him in. And Robert is your friend.
Yes, ma'am.
So Robert wouldn't lie for her.
I can't speak on that. He's intimate with her friends, so a lot of people do a lot of things when they're with somebody.
I don't think that's important.
Swear the witness, please.
Raise your right hand, sir. You swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Robert Silva.
Mr. Silva, Mr. Rodriguez says that you're a friend of his. Is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you known him?
About 15, 16 years.
You invited him to a party on the 27th of August at Miss Hunting's home. Is that right?
Yes.
You were playing poker?
Yes.
And there was some sort of a dispute over a winning hand. We're getting past that. Did you see an incident involved? Didn't see him pick up or toss a bicycle?
No.
Did you remove him from the house?
We walked out together.
You didn't pull him out of the house?
Pull, no. He wasn't done talking, and I think we were done talking, so I said it was time to go.
Now, when he left the house, can you describe what happened, sir?
I told him to leave, and I went to go close the door.
Look at me when you're talking.
And on the way out, I seen him kick Amber's car on the way out.
How many cars did you see him kick?
I only seen him kick Amber's car.
Did you say anything to him when you finally caught up to him?
No.
You didn't say, why did you kick Amber's car?
It's too late. It doesn't matter why. I couldn't stop it.
Oh, no. That's their witness. They say
That's their witness, sir, but
say
your
I
friend
kicked-
for 17 years.
Oh, yes, ma'am. But it just seems fugazi to me because...
What?
It seems a little funny to me because they said I threw a bicycle. He didn't see it.
No,
They
he
say
didn't
I
see
kicked
that.
2 cars, and he only seen me kick 1. I don't know. The story seems wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair. Not
Daniel Rodriguez vandalized 2 of her cars after an argument over a poker game. Amber has produced a surprise eyewitness.
Did you call the police immediately?
As soon as I saw
7th of August?
Yes.
Can I see the police report, please? How old are you, Miss Hunting?
21.
You live at home with your folks?
With my mother?
And this is your mom?
Yes.
Who, if I called her as a witness, would testify about a lot of bad language that she heard, and she said she was going to call the police, correct?
Correct.
You have photographs of the vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see them, please. Well, the detective who responded saw the following, Mr. Rodriguez. He saw the damage to the cars. The issue is really, was this old damage, new damage? But let me tell you what the police officer wrote. Second vehicle, 1997 Ford Escort, belonged to Amber's mother, Doreen Hunting. I noticed a circular dent near the driver's side door and chipped paint around the dent. I located several pieces of the chipped paint on the ground directly below the dent on the door. So you know what that suggests to me, Mr. Rodriguez?
New damage?
Very smart. Now, who do you think had a motive to be angry that night?
I did.
And whose dear friend who invited them to this party says it was you? If you were sitting in my place, would you think that I caused the damage?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Just want to make sure that you think I'm fair.
But
not
I
that
also
it's,
would
not
think
that it's
that-
really important to me what you think, but I want you to start doing a little thinking. What are the estimates to fix these 2 dents?
$1,893.
Together.
Yes.
That's a bargain. So not only didn't you win, sir, at poker that night, but your temper is going to cost you $1,893. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was drunkenness and nobody was really listening.
Please.
Episode 91. Poker, Pride, and the $1,893 kick that broke a 17-year bromance. Have you ever sat through a social gathering that felt like a ticking time bomb wrapped in cheap beer and even cheaper snacks? We've all been there. The friendly get-together that starts with laughter and ends with someone crying in the driveway or, in this case, someone's Ford Escort getting a personalized dent from a size 10 shoe. Watching this episode of Judge Rodriguez versus Hunting felt like a fever dream curated by the gods of petty disputes and bad gambling etiquette. There is something profoundly tragic, yet undeniably hilarious about watching adults lose their absolute minds over the kind of drama that makes you want to reach through the screen, grab a handful of their lukewarm chips, and ask, was it really worth $1,893? As a critic who has spent far too many hours dissecting the body language of the desperate and the delusional, I found this particular case to be a masterpiece of human fragility. The tension wasn't just about the money in the pot. It was about the toxic cocktail of ego, alcohol, and the inability to fold, when life clearly tells you the game is over. What started as a fun night on August 27, 2004, turned into a forensic investigation of chipped paint and betrayed loyalties. We see Amber, the 21-year-old host who learned the hard way that friends of friends are often just strangers with the potential to ruin your insurance premium. Then we have Rodriguez, a man who clings to his version of a poker hand like it's a sacred text, despite the fact that everyone, including his ride-or-die best friend, is pointing the finger at him. This episode is a cautionary tale for anyone who thinks a house game is just for fun in reality. It's a social experiment designed to see how quickly 17 years of friendship can evaporate under the heat of a fugazi accusation. It's sharp, it's messy, and it's exactly why we tune in, to see Judge kick a car and call it fair play. The swang summary of this three-act tragedy begins with Act 1, the kitchen table casino, where the vibes are high and the stakes are low, or so they thought. We enter the scene in a modest home where 6 people are gathered around a deck of cards. There's Amber, her boyfriend, her witness Tristan, and the fateful duo of Robert and Rodriguez. For 2 hours, everything is hanging out and having fun, which in television speak is always the calm before the storm. The conflict ignites over a disputed winning hand. Rodriguez thinks he's the king of the table, but the table disagrees. This is the climax of our chaos, where the lines between a game and a grudge start to blur. Rodriguez claims he won. Amber claims he called the wrong hand and then tried to bully his way into the pot. It's a classic case of he said, she said, but with more testosterone and beer breath. Act 2. The bicycle lie and the Robert betrayal is where the Han Lone truly peaks. According to Amber, Rodriguez didn't just leave. He exited like a one-man wrecking crew. She tells a wild story about him throwing a bicycle across a deck and bruising a friend's arm, a claim so cinematic it almost feels scripted. Rodriguez, of course, hard, claiming he merely bumped into a bike while being pulled out of the house. But the real plot twist, the moment that made my blog a heart skip a beat, was the entrance of Robert Silva. Robert isn't just a witness. He's Rodriguez's friend of nearly 2 decades. In a move that redefined the term truth over bros, Robert enters the court and calmly confirms that while he didn't see a flying bicycle, he absolutely saw Rodriguez kick Amber's car. The look on Rodriguez's face in that moment was worth more than the $3,000 pot he was fighting for. It was the ultimate ET2, brute, moment, broadcast for millions. Act 3. The $1,893 reality check serves as our Haman, where the legal hammer finally drops. Judge Judy, ever the connoisseur of logic, ignores the bicycle drama and focuses on the forensic evidence. She looks at the police report which describes chipped paint found directly below the dent, a sign of new damage that even a drunken poker player couldn't ignore. Rodriguez tries to argue that the story is wrong because the witnesses didn't agree on the bicycle, but Judy isn't there for the bike. She's there for the bill. The verdict is a crisp $1,893, a brand into a massive financial loss. He walks out complaining about drunkenness and a lack of support, while the audience walks away with the satisfying knowledge that in Judy's court, the house and the truth always wins. Diving deep into the psychological arena of Case 91, we have to start by dissecting the absolute audacity of our defendant, Daniel Rodriguez. If there was an award for the most fragile ego in a suburban living room, Daniel would take home the trophy, probably while complaining that the trophy was actually supposed to be bigger. From the moment he opens his mouth, we see a man who isn't just fighting for a few poker chips. He's fighting for a version of reality where his manliness remains untarnished. His comment about not wanting to hear anyone's opinion when 2 men are playing the game is a peak 2004 moment that has aged like milk in a hot car. It's a classic deflection tactic. By trying to frame the dispute as a gendered hierarchy, he's desperately attempting to invalidate Amber's presence in her own home. You can almost see the gears turning in his head. If I can make this about guy stuff, maybe the judge won't notice I'm a sore loser. But Judge Judy is the ultimate vibes checker, and she sniffs out his insecurity like a bloodhound. Daniel is clearly the nan victim of edit. He comes off as the quintessential villain of the week. Every time he scoffs or says it's Fugazi, the camera catches that flicker of "I'm getting caught" in his eyes. He tries to play the cool, calm guy who just bumped into a bike, but his physical energy screams, "I'm one card away from a tantrum." Then we have Amber Hunting, our 21-year-old plaintiff, who is essentially the team carrier of this narrative. Amber represents every host who has ever regretted their guest list. She is poised, but you can feel the underlying frustration of someone who had to deal with a 15-minute calm-down session in her own kitchen. She isn't just suing for car repairs. She's suing for the violation of her peace. The chemistry between her and Rodriguez is a toxic sludge of broken trust and friend of a friend awkwardness. When they interact, it's a masterclass in the "why are you like this" dynamic. Amber's witness, Tristan, stands in the background as the silent support, but the real MVP, the true Ganteme of the entire episode, is Robert Silva. Robert is the personification of the internal conflict we all feel when our ride-or-die best friend turns out to be a ride-or-die liability. Imagine knowing someone for 17 years, inviting them to a party, and then watching the body language is fascinating. He's stoic, almost mournful. He isn't there to betray his friend. He's there to survive the truth. When he confirms he saw Rodriguez kick the car, it's a narrative death knell. Rodriguez's attempt to discredit Robert by saying he's intimate with her friend is a desperate, bottom-of-the-barrel move that only makes him look more guilty. He's trying to read Robert's mind, thinking he's choosing his girlfriend over our 17-year bond. But the reality is simpler. Robert is just tired of cleaning up Daniel's messes. This interaction is the emotional core of the episode. The moment a decades-long friendship is weighed against a $1,800 repair bill and found wanting. The way Rodriguez looks at Robert after the testimony is a mix of betrayal and shock. A "how could you" that is met with a silent "how could you" from Robert's side. It's the kind of high-stakes interpersonal drama that no scriptwriter could truly capture with this much raw tension. Now, let's talk about the Bon Te Dao Dain, director's hand, because this episode is a masterpiece of reality TV jurisprudence. The pacing of this segment is impeccable, designed to lead us down a path of did or didn't he, before slamming us with the forensic evidence. One of the most subtle but effective hat sand with a bicycle. The director spends an inordinate amount of time on the flying bike versus the bumped bike narrative.
Why?
Because it builds the profile of Rodriguez as a violent actor. Even if the witness Robert says he didn't see it, the seed is planted in the audience's mind. The Chin Hu Ung M Ton sound effects are classic Judy, the sharp gavel, the dramatic swell of music as the surprise witness is called in. The way the camera zooms in on the photographs of the car isn't just about showing damage, it's about the gotcha moment. The director knows that the circular dent and the chipped paint on the ground are the smoking guns. By showing those photos while Judy reads the police report, the edit turns a boring piece of paper into a grand reveal. The slow-motion feeling of the judge's logic, breaking down the motive, he was angry he lost, and the opportunity, he was kicked out, is what makes the show addictive. As for the kitsch band script, does it smell dondung, staged? Not exactly. The emotions are too raw, and the Fugazi comment is too specific to be a writer's room invention. However, it is highly curated. The director clearly chose to emphasize the men versus women poker comment to make Rodriguez as unlikable as possible, ensuring the audience is rooting for his downfall. The frame as a secondary witness adds a layer of "this guy is so bad, he made the mom call the cops" energy. It's not fake, it's just framed to perfection. The cleverest part of the direction is the timing of this surprise witness. We are led to believe Robert might support his friend, creating a brief moment of suspense before he delivers the final blow. It's a textbook example of how to edit a legal proceeding for maximum entertainment value without losing the natural feel of a genuine dispute. The camera captures every twitch of Rodriguez's jaw and every roll of Amber's eyes, turning a simple car repair case into a 15-minute psychological thriller about the death of a friendship. To wrap up this suburban saga with a bow of cultural wisdom and a side of "I told you so," we have to look at the Gok Nin Van Hoa and Bai Hawk through the lens of our current, obsession-driven digital age. Even though this case went down in 2004, the main character syndrome, radiating off Daniel Rodriguez is so potent it could power a small city in 2026. This episode is a timeless study in what happens when fragile masculinity meets cold, hard physics. Culturally, it captures that specific, gritty mid-2000s energy where a friendly poker game was the ultimate arena for ego and where Rodriguez's attempt to gatekeep the game as a man's thing, while the women were literally sitting there having outplayed him, is the kind of prehistoric logic that we see today in toxic comment sections. But watching it get dismantled by Judge Judy is the ultimate form of catharsis. The real VO lesson here, and I say this with all the empathy of someone who has seen 1,000 bad bets, is that being a sore loser is the most expensive hobby you can have. It would have been infinitely cheaper for Daniel to just admit he miscalled his hand, swallow his pride, and go home to sleep it off. Instead, his main character moment led him to turn a driveway into a combat zone and a Ford Escort into a $1,893 punching bag. In today's terms, Daniel tried to stand on business, but the only thing he was standing on was a pile of chipped paint and a shattered 17-year friendship. This brings us to the most poignant cultural takeaway: the death of the Fugazi friendship. In our modern era of receipts and cancel culture, we often forget that the most brutal callouts happen in person, under oath, by the people who know us best. Robert Silva's decision to testify against his friend of 17 years is a powerful reminder that loyalty has a price limit, and that limit is usually reached when you start kicking in accountability culture before it was a trend. The realization that you can't expect your inner circle to lie for you when your behavior is indefensible. For the Gen Z and Gen Alpha viewers watching these clips on TikTok today, the message is clear. Don't let your ego write checks that your best friend won't cash. We live in a world where everyone wants to manifest their own truth, but as Judge Judy proved with a police report, the only truth that matters is the one that leaves physical evidence on the ground. The irony of Rodriguez complaining about drunkenness, as his final defense is the chef's kiss of the episode. It's a classic VO attempt to deflect blame onto the alcohol, forgetting that a $1,893 judgment doesn't care if you were drinking Miller Lite or expensive champagne. Ultimately, the episode serves as a satirical mirror to our own lives. Are we the Amber, trying to keep the peace while the friends of friends ruin the upholstery, or are we the Daniel, so blinded by a losing hand that we kick the very vehicle that could have taken us home with our dignity intact? The final lesson is simple. If you're going to play the game, learn how to lose. Because if you don't, the house won't just take your chips. It'll take your friendship, your reputation, and nearly $2,000 for the most fugazi outcome of all. Continuing our exploration into the psychology of the sore loser, we must dedicate some serious digital ink to the silent but deadly presence of Doreen Hunting, Amber's mother. While she didn't take the center stage for long, her presence in the courtroom as the ultimate adult is a masterclass in secondary character drama. Doreen represents the invisible, collateral damage of these house party-turned-crime scenes. When the judge mentions that Doreen would testify about the bad language she heard, we aren't just hearing about a swear word. We are witnessing the collision of a chaotic 20-something social life with the boundaries of a parent's home. The drama here is in the contrast. You have these young adults trying to play a professional game of high-stakes poker, but the moment things go south, the mother has to step in like a weary referee at a toddler's playdate. Daniel's audacity to carry on this way in someone else's family home adds a layer of cringe that the director perfectly highlights by cutting to Doreen's face, a face that says, "I am too old for this, and my Ford Escort deserves better." It's a subtle, team carrier moment for the prosecution. By having the mother present, Amber transforms from a complaining friend into a daughter seeking justice for her household. The chemistry stakes are no longer just about a pot of money, but about the sanctity of a home and the respect, or lack thereof, shown to an elder. Then, we have to talk about the fugazi of it all. Daniel's repeated use of the word fugazi is a fascinating linguistic artifact of the era. He's trying to use slang to suggest that the evidence is fake or artificial, but the irony is that his entire defense is the only thing that's truly fugazi. The Bon Te Dao Dain captures this beautifully by letting Daniel ramble about the term for a few seconds too long, allowing him to dig his own grave with his street logic. The director knows that to the judge and to the audience, using tough guy slang while being accused of kicking a 1997 Ford Escort is objectively hilarious. It's a Hatsan in his character, a moment where his attempt to look informed and aware actually makes him look more like a man who has run out of actual facts. The drama isn't just in the kicking, it's in the verbal flailing of a man who is watching his 17-year-old friendship with Robert go up in flames. Robert's testimony is the plot twist that keeps on giving. The directorial hand ensures that we see the exact moment Rodriguez realizes Robert isn't going to lie for him. That micro-expression of betrayal, followed by the Fugazi defense, is natural drama at its finest. A raw, unscripted collapse of a social circle under the weight of a $1,893 debt. Finally, the forensic climax, the chipped paint. This is where the Bon Te Dao Dain and the judge's logic merge into a satisfying mic drop moment. The judge doesn't just say he did it. She uses the detective's report to describe the circular dent and the chips of paint found directly below the dent. This is the aha moment that every courtroom drama craves. The director focuses the camera on the photographs, forcing the audience to look at the physical evidence of Daniel's temper. The VO try lesson here is that gravity and physics are the ultimate snitches. You can lie about the bicycle, you can lie about the man's game, and you can call the witness Fugazi, but you cannot explain away the paint on the ground. It is the final, undeniable period at the end of a very messy sentence. Daniel's closing remark about drunkenness is the perfect post-credit scene, a final attempt to blame the bottle for a character flaw that was clearly there all along. He walks out with a $1,893 bill, a lost best friend, and the eternal reputation of the guy who couldn't handle a losing hand. And as the credits roll, we're left with the poker face in the world won't save you if you leave the evidence on the driveway. As we bring the curtain down on this masterclass in suburban dysfunction, we have to talk about the absolute VO try irony of a man who claims he won the game but lost his soul, his sanity, and his best friend all in the same night. The cultural trend here is one we see all too often in 2026, the alpha posturing that collapses the moment a real authority figure enters the room. Rodriguez tried to gatekeep the very concept of poker, implying that because he's a man, his read of the cards should be treated as gospel, yet he couldn't even read the room well enough to realize that his 17-year-old bromance with Robert was about to go through a wood chipper. This is the ultimate lesson for the hustle culture and poker face enthusiasts of the digital age. Your aura means nothing if you don't have the receipts. The Bon Te Dao Dain here is at its most genius when it focuses on the silence that follows Robert's betrayal. It's a silence that speaks volumes about the death of the bro code in the face of absolute stupidity. We see this in current trends where holding people accountable has become a form of social currency, and Robert is essentially the bank. He didn't just give a testimony, he gave a masterclass in quiet quick away for the youth of today. If you're going to act out at a house party, maybe don't do it at a house where the host's mother is a veteran of the I will call the cops school of parenting. Amber's mother, Doreen, is the silent hero of this cultural critique, the woman who represents the old guard of respectability that Rodriguez completely ignored in his drunken haze. The drama here isn't just about a dented Ford Escort. It's about the erosion of basic social etiquette and the belief that you can scream your way into a winning hand. As a critic, my heart actually aches a little for Robert. Imagine the chemistry of that car ride home after the party, before the lawsuit, the tension, the silence, the realization that the guy you've known for 17 years is actually the type of person who kicks a car when he loses a bet. That's the real Fugazi. Not the evidence, but the friendship itself. The director's choice to keep the photographs of the paint chips on screen for an extended period serves as a visual metaphor for the stains we leave on our own lives when we let our tempers take the wheel. It's not just paint on the ground, it's the physical debris of a ruined reputation. And for what? For a hand of poker that he probably misplayed anyway? The VO try logic of I'll leave, but I want my money is the peak of delusion, a final desperate attempt to win a situation. And Judge Judy isn't just a judge. she's a mirror. She forces Rodriguez to look at his own fugazi behavior and realize that in the real world, you don't get an encore for being a jerk. The connection to today's crash-out culture is undeniable. We see people throwing away entire careers and relationships for a few minutes of televised or digital clout, only to be left with the bill. My advice to the viewers? Be more like the Ford Escort. Stay grounded, keep your receipts, and if someone tries to kick you, make sure you leave enough paint on the ground to secure a judgment. Case 91 isn't just a number on a calendar. It's a monument to the fact that while you can try to bluff your way through a hand of cards, you can never, ever bluff your way through a court of law with a 17-year witness standing right behind you. And that, darlings, is the only understanding we truly need to take away from this unhinged masterpiece of television.